A society is a group of people who interact with one another on a regular basis, or a large social group that shares the same spatial or social territory, and is typically subject to the same political authority and dominant cultural expectations. Society shapes people's belief systems, controls their behavior, and determines their values. These are delivered to individuals via the media, school curricula, community leaders, family, and churches. As Peter L. Berger, an Austrian-born American sociologist and Protestant theologian known for his work in the sociology of knowledge, the sociology of religion, the study of modernization, and theoretical contributions to sociological theory, contends that society is a human product, and nothing but a human product, that yet continuously acts upon its producers. In short, the human person invented society, but this creation turns back because this invention takes control of the human person every day. Mabuhay. This is Owen. This lesson on society tackles about the different theories regarding the origin of society. Specifically, the reasons of man in forming society, the actions made by mankind to form society, and the impact of society to human. Thus, this lesson intends to recognize how individuals form societies and how individuals are transformed by societies. This lesson explores the origin of society and its impact to humankind. To facilitate discussion of this, the following are the guide questions. 1. Why did man form society? 2. What should be done to form society? 3. What happened to men after the formation of society? Answer these questions after the presentation for each theory. With these questions you can be able to evaluate the extent of your understanding of each theory on the origin of society. The first theory on the origin of society that we will be discussing comes from Plato. This topic intends to answer the following questions in the light of Plato's theory. Why did man form society? How did man form society, and how society transforms man? Plato argued that societies are invariably formed for a specific purpose. Imagining their likely origins in the prehistoric past, individual humans are not self-sufficient. No one working alone can obtain all of life's genuine necessities. To address this issue, we form communities in order to work together to achieve our common goal, which is self-sufficiency. This works because each of us can work more efficiently if we specialize in a specific craft. I make all of the shoes, you grow all of the vegetables, she does all of the carpentry, and so on. Plato believed that the separation of functions and specialization of labor were the keys to establishing a worthwhile society. The end result of this original impulse is a society made up of many individuals divided into distinct classes: clothiers, farmers, builders, etc., based on the importance of their role in providing some component part of the common good. However, the smooth operation of the entire society will necessitate some additional services that will only become necessary as a result of the creation of the social organization itself, such as the adjudication of disputes among members, and the defense of the city against external attacks. Plato proposed the establishment of an additional class of citizens, the guardians, who are responsible for the management of the society itself, taking the principle of specialization a step further. In fact, Plato believed that effective social life requires two types of guardians: soldiers who defend the state against external enemies and enforce its laws, and rulers who resolve disagreements among citizens and make public policy decisions. The guardians, then, are those individuals whose special skill is simply the task of governance itself. This theory of Plato on the formation of society justifies the existence and importance of the division of labor to maintain society, thereby preserving humankind. With the formulation of division labor, is the distribution of authority to the different divisions which led to the formation of social classes and stratification. The second theory that will be presented to you comes from the student of Plato. Aristotle has a different contention on the formation of society. This topic, then, will present answers to the following questions in the light of Aristotle's theory on the formation of society. Why did man form society? How did man form society, and how society transforms man? Aristotle begins his Politics by stating the obvious: the state is some kind of community. By state, Aristotle refers to the Greek city-state. The state, like all other communities, must exist for a purpose, and that purpose is the highest good of man in response to individuals' basic instincts to reproduce and to preserve. The highest good of man is defined by Aristotle as a life of virtue and contemplation. He stated, however, if all communities aim at some good, the state or political community, which is the highest of all and encompasses all the others, aims at the good to a greater extent than any other, and at the highest good. To discover its nature and how it differs from other communities, Aristotle analyzes the state into its constituent parts and studies its historical origins. He claims that there are two basic instincts that are important in bringing people together. The first is the reproductive instinct, which brings men and women together, while the second is self-preservation, which brings master and slave together for mutual benefit. Out of these two relationships, the family is the association established by nature for the supply of men's everyday wants. The family is thus the first stage in the formation of the state. The second stage is formed when several families are united, and the association aims at something more than the supply of daily needs. This is the village, in which the most natural form is the union of families of common descent, a sort of patriarchal society. Following the village is the formation of the state, which comes into existence when several villages are united in a single complete community, large enough to be nearly or completely self-sufficient, originating in the bare necessities of life and continuing in existence for the sake of a good life. As a result, if the earlier forms of society are natural, so is the state, because it is the end of them, and a thing's nature is its end. We call what each thing is when fully developed its nature, whether we are talking about a man, a horse, or a family. Thus, what distinguishes the state from other communities is that it is self-sufficient and allows man to live the good life, whereas the family, for example, is barely enough to keep its members alive. The state is qualitatively distinct from the family and village, rather than quantitatively. The state, according to Aristotle, is a natural society. He demonstrates how man's very nature drives him to form the societies of family, village, and state. The natural end of man is the good life, which can be found only in the state. As a result, the state is a natural society. Man is a political animal by nature. And he who is without a state by nature and not by chance is either a bad man or above humanity. Man's faculty of speech, which no other animal possesses, demonstrates that nature intended man to lead a social life. Nature does nothing in vain, so it stands to reason that men were created to interact with one another. The theory of Aristotle illustrates the complexities of society due to the influence of society and man to each other, which is driven by man's social instinct to achieve the highest good. These complexities, as presented by Aristotle, can be seen on the continuous evolution of society and changes to the nature of society as history unfolds. The third theory on the formation of society that we are going to tackle comes from one of the thinkers during the period of Enlightenment. This topic, then, will present answers to the following questions in the light of Thomas Hobbes' theory on the formation of society. Why did man form society? How did man form society, and how society transforms man? In the state of nature, according to Thomas Hobbes, there is equality of strength and equality of hope among all men. There is no weak, no strong, there is only vulnerability because anyone can kill anyone else. Men in their natural state are thus at war, no government, no common law. There is no such thing as a universal law that applies to all men. Life is short, nasty, and brutish in the state of nature. However, all men are naturally afraid of death and seek to preserve their limbs and lives. Men seek peace because they are afraid of death and want to protect themselves. In turn, his desire for peace leads him to enter into a contract. The social contract has only one goal: to establish a commonwealth that promotes peace, security, and the protection of life and property. The commonwealth, then, is the constraint that men impose on themselves in order to escape the misery of war. It is the power that allows men to enjoy liberty and justice, and it is the society that is the result of men entering into a contract. According to Hobbes, the Leviathan is the head of the commonwealth, or the one man or assembly of men who wields the will of all men, who conferred all their power and strength in order to reduce all their wills into one will and transcend the state of nature. The government is the Leviathan, the absolute monarch, the head of the commonwealth, the result of men entering into a contract among themselves. Hobbes claims that the Leviathan makes the law, executes the law, but is above the law. His authority is absolute and cannot be withdrawn. His power is indivisible, incommunicable, and inseparable. With this, men were constrained and allowed the absolute monarch to take full control, in exchange for human preservation. Although there are more thinkers that theorized on the formation of society, we are to conclude on John Locke's social contract theory. Based on Locke's theory, the following questions are to be answered. Why did man form society? How did man form society, and how society transforms man? The state of nature is also the starting point for John Locke's social contract theory. However, in his natural state, there was peace, goodwill, mutual assistance, and preservation. It provided men with complete freedom and equality. Each man lived his life according to his own desires and wishes. There was natural law, which was founded on logic and justice. People had certain rights, such as the right to life, liberty, and property. In the natural state, each man was his own policeman and judge. But the question is, if people were happy and peaceful in nature, why did they say goodbye to it? The answer lies in the inconveniences that arise from the implementation of natural law, which are: 1. The natural law was ambiguous. Each person provided his or her own interpretation, which created complications. 2. There were no impartial judges to interpret natural law. 3. There was no unified and competent authority to enforce natural law. These were the reasons that once a dispute began in the state of nature, it could not be resolved. This compelled man to establish civil society or the state in order to alleviate the inconveniences. As a result, the people reached an agreement. Although John Locke does not explicitly state it, it is clear that there were two contracts. The first was between individuals and society, as a result of which the government was formed. The other was a contract between society and the government. Unlike Hobbes' ruler, who had limited authority, the people reserved the right to remove the ruler if he did not fulfill the terms of the contract. With the contract, people's complete freedom became limited freedom. A part of man's freedom is given to an authority to resolve inconveniences brought the utilization of natural law. In summary, this is Locke's explanation of the social contract theory. This lesson about the formation of society and the impact of society to mankind emphasizes the following significant points. 1. Plato explains that society was formed because of the common goal of achieving self-sufficiency. To achieve this goal, Plato suggests that individuals share their skills. This led to the establishment of division of labor and formation of social stratification. 2. Aristotle contends that man invented society in response to man's natural instincts to reproduce and to preserve, thus achieving the highest good of man. This could happen through the evolution of the society into a state. With this, man and society continuously influence each other. 3. Thomas Hobbes theorized that society was built by men to achieve peace and lessen men's vulnerability to death. To do this, men entered into a contract for the formulation of a commonwealth. As such, men were constrained and allowed the absolute monarch to take full control for human preservation. 4. John Locke believes that society was established by men to resolve the inconveniences brought by the implementation of the natural law. Resolving such inconveniences led men to enter into a social contract. This social contract restricted men's freedom, and a part of their freedom was given to an authority. Mabu Hai. I am Owen, imparting to you that society significantly shapes our belief systems, controls our behavior, and determines our values. However, as the inventor of society, we are responsible to transform our society to its best for the betterment of its member society.